Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
Welcome, dear listeners, to Word Docs. I'm Sean, and I'm here with Alex and Amy.
Hi.
Hello, Alex. Hello, Amy.
Hello.
And we're here today, launching straight into it, to talk about jobs. And I guess I take this topic to mean the kind of jobs that aren't writing jobs.
You mean
jobs,
like paying jobs?
Paying jobs, that's correct. The jobs we had before we were writers, the jobs we had while we were trying to be writers, and we all three of us have jobs now. That's why we are the Word Docs. We teach at Flinders University.
We could also talk about dream jobs. What would your dream job be?
Or how about the dream jobs you've turned down because you're an idiot? Because that's
Alex, there's a whole segment there.
Now, the reason why Alex is clipping there is that he got so excited by the thought of that topic and came
that
right
was
up
so
to his
subtly
microphone.
done. Alex, sit back.
Okay, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to be good.
Behave.
Curb your enthusiasm. So where should we start? Who would like to go first?
Who has the most embarrassing job story?
You would definitely have the most embarrassing
You assume
job
that.
story.
You just assume that would be me. Well, okay, I'll start with one. I'm going to be very careful about not naming the particular charity I worked for, but for a long time I lived in Sydney and I was writing during the day, which was fantastic, but I needed a night job to pay the ridiculous Sydney rent. And I was working for a charity that shall remain nameless on the phone. So I used to ring, I was cold calling people and harassing them to give money to charity, which was fine. I slept well going, well, I'm harassing people, but for a good cause. The problem was they realised we were much, much more charming if we'd been drinking. And young Alex, 20-something-year-old Alex, did particularly well with the older women after a few drinks. I'm still talking about the job. And they used to give us Baileys and...
Oh, no.
Yeah, and what was that? Irish Baileys
So I'm
and cream.
guessing these older women didn't see what you were drinking.
They couldn't see what you were drinking, but the thing is, you're terrified when you start cold calling for the first time. It is a terrifying thing. And
I would still be terrified to cold call.
We got
people.
yelled at. We got treated. We also recorded the calls, and sometimes they'd be very entertaining afterwards. But I got so drunk one night, I walked into the filing cabinet, bounced off, and passed out in the middle of the call centre.
In the middle of the call, I thought you were about to say.
No, thank goodness. And
on Baileys. So the hangover must be interesting.
Yeah, the hangover was interesting, but you need to make your KPIs, and they were letting people go very quickly. If you didn't make your KPIs after a couple of weeks, you were pretty much gone. And
was the KPI measured in glasses or litres?
And did you quit or did you get sacked?
Well, then I went and did the same thing for American Express because the money was slightly better, but I lasted a day because I thought, you know what, I can ring people and harass them for charity and I can live with that. In fact, feel quite fine about that, but I couldn't do it for something that people didn't really need. So I lasted a day there, and then I ended up at Virgin Mobile, and that was inbound calling, and that was a lot better, except that I really wasn't very good. So people would ring with a major problem with their phone and be very, very angry, and 20-something Alex would say, I'll just put you on hold for a minute, and then I would, and then just grab whoever was next to me and go, for the love of God, please help me, I've got no idea what's going on. But we used to have quite a few perverted people would ring. Night shifts, they would ring, and we would record the conversations. And my favourite one was a guy who had been on an adult phone service for quite some time during that day, and he had a prepaid mobile. This is in the days of when prepaid mobiles were more the norm. And what was happening was he was buying prepaid, like $15 recharge cards or what have you, but the debt he'd accumulated was just swallowing them up. So from his perspective, he was like, I keep buying recharge cards and I'm not getting any bang for my buck, so to speak.
As it were.
And so I could see on the system the number he'd been calling, and I knew what it was. But the etiquette of the job was you don't tell people, it's an embarrassing thing to bring up. But this guy got steadily more abusive. And so the recorded call was gold. We played it quite a few times around the office because he went, listen, mate, I've been putting effing fucking I'm going to say it now. I'm dropping the F-bombs, but I'm doing it in character. It's okay. I'm doing it in character. Because I've been putting these fucking recharges on and they're not fucking doing anything. And you hear me, this little wimpy guy, oh, maybe you've been using a premium service, like maybe you've been checking the weather or your star signs, maybe. And he's like, fuck you. And then finally, you just hear the point in the call where Alex cracks and this darker version takes over. So it's just halfway through, I go from, oh, maybe, all right. Do you want to know what you've been doing? And do you want to know when you were doing it? 11:15, 11:35, 12:01, 12:08, 1:15. And the guy just went, oh, yeah, sorry, mate, sorry, and got off the phone. And that was my crowning glory there. And then a few weeks later, I was arguing with an old lady, and she said, oh, screw you, I'm going to Telstra. And I went, screw you, I'm going to Adelaide. Hung up the phone, walked out the building. That was it.
Fantastic.
That's a good quitting story.
Here I am.
Yeah, and it's a good story.
It's a great story. What about you, Amy?
We don't have any Baileys.
Oh, we don't have any Baileys. We should have Baileys, but instead we'll have your stories about shitty jobs you've had while trying to be a writer, if you had any.
Oh, man, so many. Childcare. I did after-school care work for a while. Well, lots of waitressing. And I was a wedding coordinator for a while. After my degrees, I went out and I was trying to write a novel. And I worked as my parents own a restaurant. My family owns a restaurant. And I went to work there for a while. And then I ended up the functions manager and then a wedding coordinator. And I coordinated over 350 weddings.
Oh, for your sins. Weddings are the worst. I used to be a DJ for weddings. And yeah, tense and entitled.
This
sometimes.
Is someone's special day. This is someone's
and also because
special
it was
day.
high end, like the money they were spending, just the levels of stress. I liked most of them because I really like people. I'm like an extroverted introvert, so it was quite fun. But there were just some mad people, like absolutely mad people. There was one time we had a wedding cake that was gold plated, like they had gold
How did they
leaf.
cut it? Oh, right.
Well, and they roll it really thin, but you eat the gold. And so they paid so much money to basically, excrete gold the next day. And then there was one with this mother of the bride. I hope they're not listening because I really did like most of these people. But this mother of the bride her daughter lived overseas, I think in Singapore, and she was organising the wedding here in Adelaide. And she wanted an all-white wedding. Everything was white, right? White tablecloths, white flowers, just everything white.
White wine.
And a lot of money being spent. And so we had white chair covers with white bows that were coming. The day before the wedding, she pops in just to check on everything. And she does this big sigh and she's like, I'm just really worried about the chairs. And I was like, why are you worried about the chairs? And she said, oh, because they're blue. And I was like, no, but we've got the white chair covers coming and the white bows. It will all be just spotlessly white. She's like, yes, but I'll know they're blue underneath. And I was like, I'm not buying all new chairs for you. And I'm not ordering in new chairs for you. And I wanted to say, under this white paint on the walls, it used to be green. And so we could like tell you that and you'd just go mad all day thinking about this. There was
Under
so
your
many.
white skin, you're all pink.
There was another one.
Yes.
There's some darker
viscera.
ones. Yeah, exactly. There are some darker stories too. There was a couple of awful ones, but they're funny in retrospect. There was one where the father of the groom had Alzheimer's. And he, it was really sad. He was a lovely guy, but he really didn't know who anyone was or what was happening. And for some reason, the groom was determined that he was going to make his dad give a speech. And it's just but he doesn't know who anyone is. Anyway, the poor old guy, he fell over in the bathroom and hit his head. And there he is, like, not knowing who anyone is. And we had to patch him up. He had a little bit of blood on his forehead. And they still got him up to give a speech.
Oh,
and he gave the speech not knowing who anybody was.
Did he know he was at a wedding?
Terrible.
Yeah, he knew he was at a wedding, but he didn't know who they were. And it's just like, why is this happening? And then there was another one. This was absolutely insane, like so insane, where the grandmother of the bride had a heart attack during the reception.
Oh, God.
Right?
No.
Right? So we're calling the ambulance. And they're like, we don't want anyone to know. It's like, what do you mean you don't want anyone to know? She's right in the middle of the restaurant, like on the floor with people gathered around her. And they just chose, while we got the ambulance in, to go ahead with the speeches.
Oh, wow.
The maid of honour is up there giving a speech about the bride as the paramedics are coming in, putting her on the stretcher, taking her out, and the whole restaurant's watching her while the maid of honour's up there trying to give a speech. And it's this moment of like, what are you guys doing? Just pause. Just
Where are
touch
your
me.
priorities?
Acknowledge what's happening. It's not going to plan.
Not at all.
But so there are so many mad stories. Just crazy stories. I quit. I was going to say Alex quit very suddenly. I quit very suddenly too. I had a day where this is in my, I've got a non-fiction book called Navigating the Kingdom of Night, and I tell the story in that book that I got yelled at by 3 men about a salad one day. I had this guy who wanted, for his function, he wanted free salads. And I went to the chef and went, can we do it? And he was just like, no, we can't do it. You don't go to your hairdresser and say, I want that for free or that for, you can't. No, the package deal is you get the salads included in the deal. We're not doing some kind of, so I have to go back. And anyone who knows chefs know they didn't say it that politely. There was a lot of swearing involved. And then I went back, this guy's yelling at me on the phone about how he should be getting free salads for spending that much money. And then so I handballed it to the manager, and this guy complained about me. Then the manager came and told me off. And I'm like, but I'm just doing the party line here. And so I went into the bathroom and took a deep breath and came out and went, I quit. I really don't see the point in this world of being yelled at over a salad by 3 different men. There's no point. It's a fucking salad.
That's right. Oh, we're all swearing now.
Yeah.
We're getting right to the source of our frustration.
This is why we work for ourselves, really, apart from teaching. Like, you writer, you work for yourself. It's fine. No one's yelling at me.
That's right. This is also the source of a lot of our good stories, I suspect, too. Has any of this work fed into your... Oh, Amy, you said that you've written an essay about some of this
I've also written a short story called Sharon that was published. That was about another wedding I worked on. It was an insane wedding.
It does creep through, because my first short play was about a call centre.
Look at that face. You guys can't see that face, but he looks so smug right now. He put it to them. You stuck it to the man, Alex. What about you, Sean? What about your paid work?
So I was at university doing an economics degree, and I dropped out of uni to become a writer, and I took up 4 part-time jobs.
4?
And, 4 to pay the bills, because none of them were full-time jobs. So I was working at a service station, the one at the top of Glen Osmond Road. If you're in Adelaide, you'll know the one I'm talking about. It's been there for a million years. I worked there on Monday nights. I worked at Theberton Theatre as an usher. I worked in a recording studio doing sort of engineering kind of stuff, a small one, duplicating a lot of cassettes. So that detail went into Impossible Music, which was, I finally got to use that mad experience. But I also worked in a compact disc shop. It was just called the Compact Disc Shop on King William Road, and it was a bit of an Adelaide institution.
I remember that. I bought compact discs there. I think I bought New Kids on the Block there, Sean.
Yes, I got the job because I was such a regular customer that I got on really well with the boss. And one day I said, you got any jobs going? I've just quit uni and looking for something to pay the bills. And he said, no, nothing here. He rang me that night and said, if you're serious, you can start tomorrow at 12. And I went, oh, right, okay. And I stayed there for 10 years. And
I'm picturing High Fidelity, when you're talking. I'm picturing you as John Cusack in High Fidelity.
Oh, we weren't quite that cool, but we were pretty cool, and we had some really great customers, and I worked there for 10 years. Gradually, all those other jobs kind of fell by the wayside, and I kept working at the CD shop. That became my kind of full-time job. So I also had a real social anxiety disorder, so I would leave the house to go to work and check my mail, and then I'd come home and I'd just write all night, didn't have a life. It was fantastic.
This lockdown, the COVID lockdown kind of suits you then?
Oh, it suits me totally. But I worked there so long. What I did is I built up my writing career while I was working at the CD shop, and every time my income went up a little bit, I would drop a shift. So
awesome.
It took me 10 years to finally drop that Sunday afternoon shift, which I had done for 10 years. And this was 20 years ago that I dropped that shift. But there are still people in Adelaide today who will walk up to me and go, hey, you're the CD shop guy. Are you still writing? Because I used to sell my books from the store. But they go, oh, yeah, I remember you from the CD shop. And I'd go, oh, yeah, I remember you too. And sometimes you even remember their name. It was such a formative experience. I still dream of that place every night. That's the place my subconscious goes to for anxiety.
I have waitressing dreams sometimes, I do. When I'm stressed, I might have a waitressing dream.
Yep.
Wow.
I had a CD shop dream last night. The CDs were misplaced and they had difficult customers.
Miscatalogued.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, isn't it funny?
Do you have call centre dreams, Alex?
No, not at all. I still have some friends I still talk to from that time, which is nice. But no, I also work childcare. So sometimes I have childcare dreams, or sometimes weirdly, you run into some adult that you realise was, because I was doing childcare while I did my master's degree. So I was probably 26, 27. And they might have been 10-year-olds then, but now
I did it when I was 19
adults.
to 21, so I hate to think how old they are, actually.
Yeah, and some of them have kids.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But I had
really
that
bizarre.
moment. I was teaching a topic with actually my partner. We were both tutors in this topic at the University of Adelaide. And it was this year, he was I could have slapped him because we were sitting there with first years in the big lecture hall. And I looked around and he suddenly went, you're old enough to be their mother. And I was like, fuck off. And then I was like, oh God, I am. I hit that moment where I was like, if I'd had a child young, I am totally old enough to be their mother.
It's a scary
And now I
realisation.
really accept it. Like I see the first years come in, I'm like, oh yeah, like I am literally your mother's age.
Yeah, I'm not sure at what point that shift happened, because when I first started teaching as a casual, I wasn't that much older than the students. Many of the students were older than me.
Yeah, I
and
heard that
it took me a couple of years to develop distance. A distance where I was kind of able to. Well, I think I got a reputation as a reasonably tough marker, so that helped to create a bit of distance with them. And then a few years later, I suddenly went, "Wow, that gap has widened, and these are no longer my people." There's another generation here.
They know I'm not their age, but there's. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show. I can't remember. I think I've told you both, but I can't remember if it's on the podcast.
Look, I keep bringing up Emperor Palpatine, so it's fine.
And the Queen, so
beat each other. It's fine.
But there's a thing that happens to women, and particularly because you guys can't see me, but I'm a short woman. Like I'm like a little hobbit or something. And so people have this kind of patronising warmth towards me, which I don't mind. That's fine and nice, whatever. But students will constantly say to me, when are you finishing your PhD? They just assume I'm a junior, right? It's happened I've been teaching now for about 20 years and it still happens. And I was telling this to a colleague one day and he didn't believe me. And I was like, no, it happens every semester. They'll say, when are you finishing your PhD? Or maybe one day you'll get a full-time job or one of those kind of where they assume you're like a young PhD student.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, well, except they don't treat you as seriously. Whereas if I went in the room with Sean, they take him very, very seriously.
Because I'm so old and decrepit looking.
It's just because you're a dude. But I was saying this to our
Or they
colleague
might go,
Eric.
that's Sean, that's the guy from the CD shop.
I was saying this to my colleague
I know
Eric,
that guy.
and then we coordinated a conference together. And we were at the conference talking to someone over coffee, and the person said to me, "And so, what are you doing your PhD on?" And they'd been treating Eric really seriously, and Eric turned around and went, "Oh, actually, she's senior to me."
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
That must have felt good.
But after that, he believed me, but he didn't believe me, and that happens with writing too. People assume I'm a junior. I mean, maybe I should take it as a compliment. Maybe I look young.
Yeah, I the second semester of last year, a student came to the room as I was there and said something like, "Oh, I reckon the tutor will be here soon," and I didn't correct her because I felt sort of, I don't know, I felt embarrassed or something.
Did you feel compelled to kind of join in slagging off the tutor when the tutor was late? Oh,
I hear he's a complete dick, this guy.
He's a really hard marker.
I reckon
He's
I
a
can
really
do
hard
better
marker.
than him. I'm going to do it next week.
Yeah, make it seem like I'm staging a coup. But then I had this bittersweet moment where I thought, oh, I really hope that keeps happening, because one year, obviously, it won't. And then I'll be like, okay, all right, well,
They'll
I'm part
just
of the
assume
furniture
you're
now.
like the mature age student who's a bit daft.
Your establishment now, Alex.
So
There's
I've
no
got
escape.
a question. Let's hear the story about how you came to teach at a university.
Well,
We're all very quiet. How did that happen?
I was doing
did
my
that happen?
PhD, and at the time, a colleague of mine named Joe Hartog, who has since retired, he was teaching first-year drama, and he got me in as a casual. And he was a very good boss, actually, because he understood what a casual really was. Like he didn't bring me in for crazy extra meetings or anything. He was very good in that way. And in fact, he was buying me lunch for years.
So what Alex means by that is casuals at universities are very underemployed. They're underpaid for the work they do. So
That's exactly right.
Most casuals live on below minimum wage.
That's exactly right. And as a casual, you're so keen to impress that you might come to extra meetings or come to campus for extra hours.
And in fact, there are people, not us, but there are people who do say to people, it's good for your resume.
It's good for your resume. I hate that. We can have a whole podcast on working
because I think writers are so used to being underemployed.
Yeah.
We're quite, I think, kind to people. I've noticed in the departments I've worked in creative writing that people are very aware that people are underemployed and are living on quite low salaries and having to cobble together multiple jobs, probably because we've all done it. Like listening to Sean having 4 jobs.
I think it's very important. I think it's important sometimes for students to understand too, if they have a casual lecturer, that they won't be able to catch them on email all the time because they're actually not paid to do
or spend half an hour after the lecture talking to them.
Yeah. So Joe was excellent in that way. He kind of said, okay, do you want to do a couple of casual hours, but I understand you're still doing your PhD and I'll buy you lunch and it'll be great. And then when he retired, which was about 2015, I started doing contract work sort of year to year. And then when a position came up, by then I was sort of part of the furniture. And I'd kind of, after Joe, the first year curriculum had gone through various topic coordinators, but no one had really claimed it. Other people had done it for a year or two and gone, well, that's my year or two. So I ended up sort of being the logical person to inherit a lot of that.
So how many years were you casual contract?
A long time. I can't tell you off the top of my head. So I think I finished my PhD, I'm not sure.
I did 9 years of it.
I would say somewhere between 6 and 8 I was a casual, yeah.
It's a long time to be exploited.
Yeah, I think it makes us quite firm in our beliefs. I notice Alex is like me. We're quite firm about rights, workers' rights.
It's a little bit like being a writer, isn't it? I mean, they say it takes 10 years to, learn your trade. It's taken you guys 7, 8, 9 years to be employed in the university sector. And just like writers are expected to perform for exposure, which is the equivalent for sticking things on your CV. So,
oh my God, can you judge this award? Can you come and give a talk? Can you do this or this or this or write this little piece? And all of it's unpaid.
But the ones who end up, I guess, often end up being the ones who may have a career in writing or a career in the university, they're ones who don't give up.
Yes, that's key,
someone said that to me once about, I was a children's author who came when I was doing honours and we had a drink with her after, and she said that she knows some incredibly talented people who never published just because they gave up. Because it is, I mean, Sue Hosking at Adelaide University was the first person to give me some work as a teacher at a university, and one year when I was just a bit in despair about ever getting a job, she told me it took her 11 years. She was on contracts for 11 years. And I remember thinking, okay, well, so it's just about not giving up. That was my attitude.
Someone once said the difference between an emerging artist and a mid-career artist is not giving up, and I think that's absolutely true. And I think sometimes you can work for experience or exposure, but you have to be very good. You have to develop a sense of when that's worth doing and when that isn't, because sometimes it can be.
I hit my limit at one, like if I hadn't got the job at Flinders, I think I was at the point where I was like, I might be done with this industry. And I think that maybe is why I got the job, was because I wasn't afraid anymore. Wasn't begging for work. I was just like, right, here I am.
Yeah.
Amy, did you come sideways in, like Alex did, sort of bit by bit into the university sector, or did you?
Well, I think I said in another podcast that when I was in my mid-20s, I decided to just bite the bullet and try and be a writer. So I went and did honours and then did the PhD because at Adelaide at the time, the PhD was still very new. So when I started a PhD in creative writing, no one had actually ever submitted one at the university or been examined. So it was a very kind of anxious thing, but you got a chance to work with mentors, which I thought was amazing. So I started out with Thomas Shapcott, who's a famous Australian poet, and Eva Hornung, who's an amazing writer who's won the Prime Minister's Prize and so many prizes. I mean, she's amazing. That was a very old school kind of mentorship. It was very old fashioned when I started, where they really mentored you and they would read drafts and they would be very exposed, like us on the show. They were very vulnerable about their own process. And then they both left, and I had Sue Hosking, I mentioned, who was at the University of Adelaide, who was not writing creatively at the time, although she is now. but is a very sensitive person. And then I had Nicholas Joes as well, who's another very famous Australian writer. So I always had practicing writers who were so interesting and inspiring that I kept going. And then someone offered me teaching while I was in, I think, second year of my PhD, or maybe the first. And it was such a weird thing. No one's ever taught at university. You have no idea that we were not trained back in the day. They're not trained much now. But
no, not now much, I don't think.
There are some programs where you can go do a certificate, but back then you literally just walked in the room and they gave you nothing. Later on in my career, I worked for some people who did give you some prep. But back then you were underpaid. You weren't paid for marking when I started. You got a set fee for the whole topic, which included and it was less than they earn now. So you had to do the marking pretty much for free. But it was literally listen to the lecture like the students, read the book like the students, turn up in the classroom. And you'd walk in, and you weren't much older than most of them, or you were the same age. You'd walk into these rooms of people who are all staring at you, and you'd get those silent... Because I started out in English literature and film studies and didn't move to creative writing for a while. And it was just really confronting at 27 to have to just control a room of people. And it's like, when the conversation runs out, it's like, so you'd be teaching, I don't know, Hamlet or something. The conversation would run out and you're like, okay, I've got to find something to talk about now. And you might not know the text. You might have I read Great Expectations the first time. I taught Great Expectations for maybe 10 years in the end. But the first time I read it, literally like the week before I had to teach it.
Wow.
And it's just like, okay, now what do I say about it? What do I know about this text?
Oh, that's hard.
It's very hard. I had a tutor that would be really strong in that way. He would just let the silence hang. He had no fear of filling it. And so it's just like, okay, guys, what have you got to say? And the students would all sit there going, oh, man, he's not going to blink.
Yeah. But I think it took me years to get my style. I think I felt like I had to do that. And then I tried out so many different ways of teaching. I think I said when we talked about failure that I might have failed as a teacher more, and I think it's because there was no guidance. I tried different ways of being, right? So I tried to be a hard ass. That doesn't suit me at all, and they didn't care. They're not scared of me. And then I'd try the silence, but I hate the silence. It makes me more anxious. And then I tried, some people like to have lots of little exercises and games and stuff, and that's too babyish for me. It didn't work for me. So it took me a long time to find my style. And my style is quite chatty, and I figure I've found now if I'm relaxed, and I know my stuff now too, I think that helps. Like when you're teaching your own topic, you can just talk off the cuff about stuff. But it took me a long time. I used to write lecture scripts when I started out and time them, whereas now I can just go in with some slides and talk for 2 hours, and it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Sean, you're the newest university edition of the trio.
The newest recruit. What do they call it? What did they used to call it when the British Army used to knock people on the heads and put them on the boat?
Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Yeah.
I like to say that I've been shanghaied, even though it's not true. So just to wrap up this episode, and it's an appropriate bookend because when I dropped out of uni and then had all those part-time jobs and gradually whittled away the part-time jobs, once I became a full-time writer, I swore that I would never have a proper job ever again. I might teach a little bit here and there, but I never wanted to have a salary or an office or anything like that. And when I was living in Dublin in 2018, I got a message from our colleague and friend, Lisa Bennett, Dr. Lisa Bennett, who teaches in the creative writing department, who we'll have on the show at some point to chat with us. She said, I'm having a baby and I'm going on maternity leave, and I really want to organise it so you could take my classes. 0.5 contract for 12 months. I think it'll really suit you. I'll stagger the courses. What do you reckon? And I said, oh, no, I swore I'd never have a real job again. And she said, but I actually think you'll really like it. And I think the students will, she was very flattering. She said the students will love you. But she said two very important things.
By the way.
Oh, well, that's nice to know. The feeling is mutual. They love you too. And probably Alex as well, although,
Probably.
No, they do.
I don't want them to love me. I want them to fear me.
That's right.
He's a villain.
Palpatine style. So Alex, Amy's, who am I talking about? Lisa said two really important things. She said, you'll really like the student. They're really good at Flinders. They want to be there. And you'll really love the people you'll be working with. I mean, me and Lisa and everybody else is great. So she didn't wear me down, but she sowed that seed. And I thought, just for 1 year, 0.5, How hard can it be? And
What's
it'd be nice
hilarious, just for context here, we were going through a restructure when Sean showed up.
Yes.
So it was like nothing like normal, and it was chaos, and just everyone was a little bit on edge. But it was when you joined was probably when it was the most collegial. Like you came and everyone was like, we were all so close because we went through this restructure together.
Yeah, it was a really difficult time to start. But Lisa was absolutely right. Within a month of starting, I loved the people I was working with, loved the students, realised that it was probably a bit of a time for a change, and here I am, still learning how to teach.
Isn't lecturing hard? The first time you get thrown into a lecture theatre, and our lectures are 2 hours long.
Yes.
So you walk in and you're like, okay, I've got to fill space.
I thought it would be
pretended it was an acting exercise. I just went, okay, I'm going to play a lecturer.
On the bit, I try and go with their natural rhythm. So you get these lulls where they clearly are bored out of their brains, where you've hit this minute where like all their energy is low. Like I used to get these classes that were like 3 to 5 p.m. where they clearly got their afternoon low. And it's just like I have to, if they start, it's like, well, we're going to pause for a minute here and let everyone go for a walk.
They're all my classes this semester, 3 to 5. Every one of them. It's hard
Last
work.
year I had 9 to 11 a.m. and one year they 8 a.m. for English lectures.
Wow.
Oh, that's just cruel.
So painful.
Last
When
year, all
you
my
do an audio lecture.
8 a.m. Monday. That's just mean.
That is just mean. But, well, of course, we're all online now, so it's a different kind of world. And speaking of online, my online podcaster friends, it's probably time for us to wrap up this online recording. Have you got any advice that you'd give to new writers, or should they give up their day job and launch straight into writing with a bunch of crappy part-time jobs, or should they juggle writing and another career?
I think there is no right answer because it would depend on your life circumstances, but you can write no matter what your circumstances are, is my advice. Even if you're just writing a paragraph a day, you can do this.
I would say this is a thing that comes up in the drama schools a lot, is they kind of go, you are an actor and that's all you are. And I would argue, no, you should be interested in the world. The most interesting actors are people who have other interests. And I think that's probably true of writers as well. It's like, be a writer, but have other things going on. If that other thing is another job that you feel very passionate about, that might not get in the way of your writing. That might actually complement or enhance.
Or you end up like Stephen King, where all your main characters are writers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear. Well, thank you, guys. Lovely to chat with you, as always. I look forward to talking with you again next week.
See you next week.
Stay well.
Why don't you write when you don't need money? All your notes sound alike too much. All of them starts with I love you, honey, but they end with the same old touch. Just for a change, send a nice loving letter and cut out that please remit. Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
Happy writing.
We finally got him to say it, Amy. We finally got him to say it. This is a big day.
Brave new world.
All right, cool. See ya.